The sweet, sensitive nature of King Charles has always been on display, even before he donned the responsibility of the British crown. While many in the royal hierarchy had nurtured the belief that they knew all there was to know about the king, especially his love life, he has decided to pull out all the stops, confirming and debunking suspicions and guesses. Could everything we think we know about the king have been wrong? Why did he choose to set the record straight now? Join us as we explore the king's decision to shock everyone with the hidden truth. Sweet, sensitive King Charles. As a boy, King Charles was completely different from what anyone expected a monarch to be. He had his ideas, his humor, and more importantly, he was kind but to a fault, as some huge figures in the royal family believed. His father, Prince Philip, an ex-soldier who served in His Majesty's Royal Air Force at the time, was undoubtedly a tough man. Hence, it was difficult for him watching his son and heir apparent to the British throne having too much. He was certain that he needed to be challenged to bring out the beast in him. Together with his mother, they decided to send him to a school where they eat tough for breakfast and make him see why he needed to toughen up. Charles made history by being the first heir apparent to attend school, rather than being homeschooled, unlike his predecessors. He was enrolled in Hill House School in 1956 under the tutelage of the headmaster at the time, Stuart Townst, who also advised the king to let Charles train in football. Football is a contact sport where everyone is trying to win, so sometimes it gets rougher than usual, and the boys never give preferential treatment to anyone. Engaging in some football, paired with rigorous schoolwork and a deadline to make his head spin, was just about enough to toughen him up. However, his father assumed he needed more, so he pushed him further, sending him to Cheam School in Hampshire and then to the huge mountains of Scotland, isolated in Gordonstown. Talking about toughening up a child in the 60s. Gordonstown was that school. Charles went in as the prince and heir apparent, hoping to maybe get a bit more reprieve when the bullies dropped the hammer, but he was public enemy. Number 1. The perfect enemy. A rich kid sent into oblivion, so far from home, with deliberately unavailable parents. It was a fish-in-a-barrel type of cheap shot. In Jonathan Dimbleby's 1994 biography of King Charles, he reported that the sweet, sensitive young prince was bullied with reckless abandon, getting welcomed to Gordonstown in fashion. He described Gordonstown, which is noted for its rigorous curriculum and some really interesting choices of students, as Colditz in kilts. For some context, Colditz is a prominent German army prisoner of war camp for captured Allied officers during the Second World War, and kilts, a beautiful fashion piece worn by the Scots. As expected, Charles survived, and not just as some lackey. He dominated. For a fact, he described the Gordonstown toughness as overrated, simply chewing them and spitting them out. However, following the end of his education, he shocked everyone with a choice to serve in the Royal Air Force. Just how important was this decision in shaping his future? Sweet Charles in the Army. Following the end of his education in Gordonstown, he took on more responsibilities as the heir apparent. He had seen with his own eyes what it took to be a leader and the strength needed to take tough decisions when it mattered most. Royal insiders have reported the beliefs of many huge figures in the royal setup, who believed that Charles's claim to the throne was only legitimate by primogeniture rules, as they had very little faith in his persona, as being good or tough enough to make the right choices if he ever needed to make tough decisions. A staple in the life of a monarch. First, he took on the role of Prince of Wales and the Earl of Chester on July 1, 1969, when he was crowned by his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. While Charles had a taste of rulership for some time, he knew that he needed to do more if he was ever going to hit the level of a proper monarch and command the respect of people who doubted him openly and behind his back in the thin walls of Buckingham Palace. So he joined Her Majesty's Royal Air Force and the Royal Navy in the 70s. His military training began in 1969, during his second year at Cambridge, where he received Royal Air Force training, learning to fly the Chipmunk aircraft with the Cambridge University Air Squadron, and was presented with his RAF wings in August 1971. There were rumors stemming from Buckingham Palace of people within the royal hierarchy who believed that serving in the military was a way for him to rub his ego, and he was never going to survive. However, maybe no one really knew Charles well enough. He was kind, compassionate, and for some people, he was a borderline softy. But there was way more to him than met the eye. He was sure of his own strength, his place in the British hierarchy, and the importance of his name globally, especially in Commonwealth nations. Ergo, he chose to be the gentle giant, who was neither just a brute nor just brains. He was the perfect tweener, who combined both parts of his emotions, balancing the yin and yang of his persona, to reach his zen, which in this case is firmness. He was superb with the army, but finally had to come home